Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining. I think we have enough people now to start the program. As you all know, this is a very important discussion today, and it is about the mandatory testing requirements by the FSSAI and the implications for especially small businesses, small food business organizations, and also medium and just repackers, relabelers, all the smaller type manufacturers and the onerous requirements for them. So that's the kind of focus of our discussion today. And before I start, I would like to introduce to you ASHA. ASHA is a national level alliance. It is completely volunteer led. Lots of, hundreds of farmers groups, consumer groups, researchers, small businesses, FBOs, SAGs are all members of ASHA, and they are all working together on a common mandate, which is to promote sustainable agriculture in India, to promote farmers' rights, and also very importantly, food safety. So this is a little bit about ASHA, which is organizing the conversation today. And now let's get into the main conversation, the main discussion. Just to give you a quick kind of a background, as you know, the FSSAI in its Food Safety Standard Regulation 2011 had included a clause about the frequency of mandatory product testing. So what they said in that clause is that this mandatory testing is required for licensed food manufacturers. But in the next line, they say all FBOs shall ensure that testing is done. Now, the difference between licensed manufacturers and all FBOs is that small FBOs, they are not required to be licensed. They are only registered. But so when they say all FBOs, automatically this is now applying to many of the small groups. And in response to this, then in 2021, again, FSSAI issued another kind of a notice saying that testing has to be aligned with annual returns. So one more kind of requirement came. And then in 2023, which is, of course, very, very recently, they have given another notice. And here they are saying that not only you have to do the testing, you also have to upload the tests to the FoSCoS, which is the Food Safety Compliance System, which is the online portal of FSSAI. So all the licensed manufacturers, and then again, they say all FBOs. So these kind of requirements, as we saw, people were raising concerns. It's quite onerous. And ASHA has sent a letter to FSSAI in June 2023. And in fact, some of the issues that it has raised are that, again, there's a kind of confusion between licensed manufacturer and all FBOs. The burdens are very, very onerous. Even the FoSCoS portal, it's quite difficult for small groups to upload things over there. And moreover, there is a kind of a penalty, it's quite high. The cost of doing testing is also very, very high, per product. In the letter, we say it can cost 5,000 to 20,000 rupees to test one product. Now, one FBO can have 20-30 products. So the costing is also very, very expensive, and it's an onerous requirement. So that is the kind of discussion we are going to have. We want to hear from the different FBOs today, what kind of experience they have, what are their concerns around this. FSSAI actually responded to ASHA's letter, and they said that they are going to tone down the order. So we don't know what kind of toning down they will do, but ASHA has actually questioned the very rationale, because if FSSAI has so many different ways of ensuring food safety already, they have, even to get the license, you have to have certain requirements met. So then why kind of put this burden on small, particularly the food manufacturers? So this is the kind of background. So today I would like to let us start with Anantu. And Anantu, please also introduce yourself and the FBOs that you're connected to. And then please tell us, according to you, what are the kind of implications and problems with this mandatory testing order?
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, I'm Anantu here. I'm one of the co-conveners of ASHA. We also have a Tamil Nadu-wide organization called a network of organizations called Safe Food Alliance. We work with food and farmers, and of course, safe food is our priority also. And we also run some markets, organic markets here in Tamil Nadu, which is also why and how we are related to a lot of FBOs, farmers, women groups, and others. So that's also one of the reasons that we have some information as we have collected from them. So in effect, like Ashlesha just gave us an introduction, this FSSAI is mandating a compulsory testing of products, and once in every 6 months, half yearly, and which has to be uploaded onto that FoSCoS system. So can we just see the implications practically faced, or let us say practically to be faced by businesses as we know? I'll just bring some of that was discussed amongst a few of our FPOs that are working in the women group. The sample costs, which Ashlesh also and the letter also indicated to us. I mean, say a very basic a pesticide residue or some other test is going to cost you anywhere from 5,000 to 9,000. And there are tests for honey, for instance. A proper good test for that would be around 25 to 30,000. So there are for a heavy metal, it's going to be around 13 to 19,000. So it varies from 5,000 to 30,000, let us say, which means, I mean, so the cost is really prohibitive. That will lead us to the next question of who is going to bear these costs. One can imagine some way or the other it will be passed on to the consumer, which should be a bigger concern for all of us. But initially, for the groups to, it is to be borne by the groups basically, and it's really prohibitive. And what is the rationale and all that is also to be seen by us. Let's say if I were a small women group having 20 products, imagine the amount of running around the women group, a small women group. I mean, say when they have only 20 products, I would imagine 4-5 women as a group, active members of the group, having to do everything, producing small, it could be pickles, it could be something else. And they're going to, I mean, they have actually had a small luck of basically how they can just be simple registration with FSSAI. Now, if there is a test mandated, they will have to look around for labs that would do the tests, basically. And if they were a medium level group, they would have anywhere between 80 to 200 products. If I have to pick up this example of 80 product group, their cost per annum would be 10 lakhs. And it might not, I mean, their turnover itself would be some 5 to 6 times of this. So which means we are talking about 1/5 or 1/6 of their whole turnover, their revenue, which will have to be now spent only on lab testing. That's about the other point. Now, if we have to go on to see how many tests a group will do, say, let us say a group with 200 products, how many tests will they have to do? So by the time they finish 200 products, checking and then getting the reports and then uploading them, they would have to basically get ready to start the next half yearly. That would be the comical situation they will be in. I'm talking of, it's just, I mean, 200 products is not very big. A small retail store will have anywhere between 500 to 600 SKUs, just to give an idea for all of us. I mean, when I say a shelf, I mean, the shelves will be filled with 500 different products in a small retail. A decent sized retail would have anywhere between 800. And imagine the number of groups that they would work with, and each group, how many products they would have to be dealing with. We can imagine the turnaround time for these tests. We will have to imagine the running around that they have to do, the turnaround time for these, and the reporting, and then uploading and loading and all that. So the amount of work that is added to these small groups is just unsurmountable. Then I go to the next question of where are these labs? Okay, we are talking of people who will have to go and test these. Where are these labs? How many labs do you see? How many labs have you seen? If it has to be DNA, acknowledged and recognized, or in an urban center. Sitting in Chennai, I can't think of beyond a handful, basically. And if you were a small women group somewhere in a corner of Dharmapuri, imagine the number of visits to be done for the test to the labs, first identifying them, going all the way, and then getting them tested. And with the the network and the infrastructure they would also have to think of uploading all this. When I'm saying even in an urban India, I have a dearth of labs. Where are we sitting and where are we talking about this with humongous costs, the amount of work that one has to do behind this, the running around behind all this, and what are the different tests we will be doing? It is just huge. Finally, as a consumer also, if you had to think, there is a lot of concern behind this. That finally it will end up as a consumer on our head, on the head of the consumer, the cost increase will also be pointed. And the point that they will also think about is, okay, if there is some valuable outcome out of it, you can still go convince them. What is the outcome that's going to come out of it? Nobody knows. There is a big concern around that that is not being addressed as yet. So these are the implications angle. I will now go into a next set of questions, basically around scientificity, if we can talk about, or what is the outcome going to be? The outcome is a big question mark again and again. We will have to keep talking about it. Will it really improve food safety? When so many of us sitting here are concerned about around safety of the food that we consume. So how and where will they be basically? So will it ensure? How will it ensure basically that submitted data is right? The veracity of the data. How is it going to be checked? And how was it fetched? Is there a fair idea around it? And was it basically submitted as is, or was there any diluting of it? And what happened around it? We have not checked about that. So, we are talking about if I'm a small group and I have uploaded, let us say I was talking of the example of a 20 or a 18. So there would have been so many reports that I would have uploaded. Who is going to go and verify? And what is the assurance that the product sold and tested are the same in the first place? And second, this is we also spoke about the logistical nightmare behind all this. I'm just thinking of what is the software or what is the, I mean, basically the checking mechanism that's going to be employed, and what will be the turnaround time, all these put together. And how is the risk that is being talked about is going to be mitigated with such a vague system that's not fallen in place at all. What is the way the FSSAI with which they are going to now check hundreds of thousands of reports that are going to be uploaded from every corner? I mean, I'm assuming if the system is robust enough, if the last district and the last village there, the women group there is able to upload it, and what is the mechanism with which it will all be studied? How will the errors be caught, and what will be the action taken? As a consumer, I don't have an idea. As groups that will be doing all this, we don't have an idea. And how effectively this will work, we don't have an idea. Basically, the regulator is ready to depend on the third point I'm going to is the regulator is also ready to depend on a few claims by big brands or biggies, basically, because they're saying they can actually upload reports from their own tests and from their own labs, self-test from their labs. That is a big logic hole that we are seeing also. That is also another major concern, basically, coming back to this. And the immediate question that comes into the mind is the big brands. As it is the big brands, we all know what is happening, what are they selling, are they going to disclose 40% sugar in a product, or are they saying what is the unhealthy stuff into that? They are known for hiding and fudging the ingredients, and today they are going to come test themselves, and we are expecting them to disclose any wrongdoing from their own lab tests. I mean, this is a big black hole that we are seeing this system. Then I go to the next one where these such tests that are being done, how will it boost the confidence of consumers? How are we ensuring that this will be safer? This is what it is. When it finally comes to you, this is what will happen. Is there a surety around what will happen? Because we are also talking of, mind you, an increase in the cost because of something else happening at a background for which I don't even know as a consumer what's going to happen and what's going to benefit. And 2 samples a year, is it going to be the test and the assurance that we are saying? I might have, depending on the product, 20 or 30 batches or even 300 batches. I might have batches every day, and you are going to pick 2 batches, tests and reports from 2 batches. So what is the rationale behind it? We don't know. And what is the rationale behind the shelf life? What is it God's going to happen? And what is about? What are the type of products? What are all being tested? And how is it going to pan out? There is absolutely no rationale. There is no scientificity around it. There is just no. But the serious concern around all that is still hangs. I have a very big concern, a social concern around it, which is larger than almost all of this, is because the large-scale corruption that this can end up being at the last mile. We have seen this happen in rural India, in smaller towns, everywhere. That is another big concern. This large-scale corruption that it can just mount, which is another heavy load on the people who are already suffering from this unscientific and illogical mandatory testing that one has to go through. as it is, food safety assurance becomes a lot more complicated these days. So the risk management, the scientific basis behind it, how are we getting it? Are we getting it for all products and for a half yearly? On what basis? Is it irrespective of the scale of the market? Is it irrespective of the shelf life? Is it irrespective of other consideration? Is it, I mean, say if you were a woman sitting somewhere, 5 women together producing sattu mix or pickles, or a few dozen packets each month, few dozen packets, mind you, there are people like that. They have got their FSSAI. And imagine the cost of the test to be done. It will be multiple times the turnover of this. They will just be selling 30 pickle bottles in a month. They will just be selling a few packets of sattu. So, and just for an imaginary risk of averting some, imaginary point about averting a risk and ensuring food safety, this is being imposed on them without any scientific basis. And there are other implications, as I said. So we just need to look at a lot more sharper around all these and what is being panning out in front of us. If we cannot understand it, we cannot probably be coming out with something that is more saner and more safer and which will ensure all this. So what we have is a feeling that we are left with that the regulatory authority is more or less absolving itself of its mandate, of its responsibility, and just washing it off somewhere else. And slowly, the thing that will pan out is, no, the smaller groups cannot do this, only the bigger giants can do this. What happens to the statutory mandate that FSSAI stands for? Assurance, where is it coming from? If they are not going, are they going to continue the random testing that the FSOs, that they will be doing on the FSOs? Is that not scientific enough? If the random checks are not done, we are seeing there are a lot of loopholes, like we were just telling you how it is, just by taking from 2 products, from 2 batches of a multiple batch production, and which I will rather the respective groups will be uploading. So the regulator, there was a clear mandate that the regulator had to check. It was random checks, it was surprise checks, it was just sudden checks doing anywhere, and there were actions to be taken around that. What is happening to that? And what will the FSSAI now publicize to the consumers as a protective provision that they are giving to the people as per the Indian law, basically. So this responsibility of theirs should not be absolved, cannot be diluted like this. It is very clearly anti-small players, anti-food safety, and pro-big brands. So there has to be a lot of relook into it, and there is definitely, in fact, I can't see of much correction there.
Wait, one more minute for you.
One more minute. Yeah. That's all I also want to. So we should emphasize that FSSAI form strengthen expert committees with representatives from consumers, which they are supposed to have, but also from women group, from organic retails and small FBOs, because who else is talking more about safe food than the organic retail? So they all have to be a part of it. There has to be an emphasis around it. And lastly, I would like to say is the best thing, if you are looking at this, is to withdraw this order and bring about robust orders that ensures and enables safe food for all. And there is an assurance that's coming along with that. There is a scientificity to it, and there is a necessity to it. And it should not be tilted against small players, small FBOs and small operators or manufacturers. That is very, very, very important today. Thank you. Thank you, Ashlesha.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anantu. You brought up some very important points. And I think that the point about own people, big brands doing their own tests. So there's clearly a conflict of interest there. How can we trust the tests that they themselves are doing? And of course, one of the points is also that it's not just the small FBOs under 12 lakhs, but also the medium FBOs who will also, which are between 12 to 20 crores, they themselves will also suffer through these kinds of rules. So just want to bring out the point that it's not just the small, but also the medium players. So with that, I would like to invite Rajesh Krishnan. Rajesh, please introduce yourself and your FBO as well before you share your experiences about this order. Thanks so much, Rajesh. Is Rajesh there? I think I had seen him.
Hello. Hi,
yeah.
Ashisha.
Hi, Rajesh.
A small time lag. Muting. Hello, everyone. So, I'm part of a set of organizations that Government of India has been promoting since 2013. We are called as farmer producer organizations, which is supposed to be collectives of farmers, the new kind of entity that the national government envisaged, where while it holds the.
Rajesh, your voice is a bit unclear. Can you speak a bit louder and into the mic? Thanks.
Hello, is this better?
Yeah, there's also some kind of a sound coming. Yeah, this is much better. Yeah, you can continue, Rajesh.
Okay, so I was saying that I'm part of a group of organizations that the Government of India has been since 2013 called farmer producer organizations. Farmer producer organizations are collectives of primary producers, need not be farmers alone. It could be fisher folk or any primary people involved in primary activities like handicrafts, etc. And the reason why the Government of India thought of promoting these kind of collectives was to give that space for those primary producers in the market, where they could engage with the market, they can have a better bargain process, and in that process also sustain themselves. And we keep hearing about the term ease of business and ease of doing business, and we are also constantly being told that these kind of collectives are also being enabled to do.
Rajesh, sorry to interrupt. People are saying that they're not able to hear you, and maybe your mic is moving a little bit. It is kind of comprehensible. Yeah, I think now we can hear you.
Is this better now? I
Yes,
think it was
yes,
because of my
remarkably better.
mouthpiece.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm talking directly to the phone now. So I was saying that I don't know where or to what extent did people hear what I was saying. But I was trying to say that I'm part of a group of organizations which the government of both the governments, the state and central governments, are promoting these days, called farmer producer organizations. And the reason why these small farmer collectives have been encouraged is also to give farmers a better bargain in the markets. As we all know that farmers are generally seen as people who buy in retail prices and sell in wholesale prices, and in the whole process keep losing again and again. So these kind of collectives were envisaged as spaces where we get or opportunities for farmers to get a better bargain in the market. And this whole process, starting from 2013 till 2023, is almost a decade now, has been to enable these kind of collectives to engage in the market, so that you get better margins, you get better prices, you can engage directly with the consumer, so on and so forth. And a large number of these farmer producer organizations are also FBOs, food business organizations like ours. I'm part of a collective called Tirunelli Agri Producer Company, which is in one of the corners of Kerala, in Wayanad, a mountainous place, one of the aspirational districts, the only aspirational district in Kerala. And our collective is a collective of farmers who do traditional varieties of paddy of Kerala. And most of these varieties have been slowly getting out of the markets and out of the fields also. And many of us felt that there is a need to sustain and bring back these varieties, because it's also a question of our seed sovereignty and farmers' rights over seeds. But that is, it's not enough that we talk about it, but also create collectives which can actually engage with farmers, and also bring these varieties into the field and also into the market. So we are already a disadvantaged group, because you have you have to make a presence in the market, and hence you have to kind of work almost double the you have to take almost double the effort to be present in the market. And any process that the government does, be it on food safety or on other aspects of food business, has to be about enabling these kind of collectives. But here is an order which is actually trying to increase the barriers for the market, and that's how we see it. In our case, Anandu before me did speak about the concerns that small organizations, small women groups, etc., face, and especially groups which deal with diversity. Like we have almost 44 different varieties of rice that our farmers cultivate. Not all of it is brought to the market, but a large number of those rice varieties have to be brought to that's our intention, have to be brought to the market. And imagine a situation where we have to test each one of these rice varieties. And again, we make multiple value-added products from these varieties. We have poha or beaten rice from medicinal rice varieties. We have rice flours from aromatic varieties. So each of these are also done on a weekly basis. So now we are in a situation where we have to test each of these and also test where is a question. When this order came, and we keep getting reminders. For that, I think one needs to give credit to FSSAI that the processes are so nice that you keep getting reminders, but then it's not thought through that how will these organizations like ours be able to do tests? Where will we do these tests? Since we kept getting reminders, we started looking around for labs and realized that the only nearest lab that we could go to is not even in Kerala, it's in Chennai. And then looking at the cost of this testing, we realized that it's better to shut this collective down than to actually do these comply by these kind of orders. So once initially thought that it was probably an issue that small organizations like ours face. But then when we started looking around and asking around, we realized that almost 90% of small, medium enterprises in this country, which is into food business, will face this issue. Imagine lakhs of FBOs starting to test. The first question is, where are these labs? The second question is, how will the turnaround time be efficient enough for us to get these reports and then to file it in the FSSAI FoSCoS portal and keep this going? From the earlier experiences, like we've been in existence for the last 7 years, and from the earlier experience, our current experiences also, the website, FoSCoS website, the moment it gets a little bit of traffic, it fails us miserably. And I remember conversations with FSSAI officials here who told me that if you log in at around 12 o'clock at night or 1 o'clock at night, it might be better. So that's the level of efficiency that portal has. And now you're expecting lakhs of FBOs to file their 6 monthly reports on it. And one can imagine the kind of traffic that has to be generated and what might happen to that. And it doesn't end there. I think the pain is when you're constantly trying to file something and then you're missing the deadline, not because of your fault, but because the system is failing. And then you're getting fined for it. So we have been fined consistently, not because we were ready to file it, but because we couldn't file it because of a system failure. So now one is worried about this new compliance thing where one has to, one has to get all our products tested on a 6 monthly basis and again file it. And we are never sure whether these filings will happen or not. We might be a small FPO, but I think there are at least 12,000 FPOs in this country which are going to face this situation. And there's also a classic case of the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. There is the Agriculture Ministry, which is going ahead and encouraging more and more farmer collectives to get into value addition. And we are constantly told that the actual survival of farmers is in value addition. But on the other hand, there are other regulatory norms which are beating us down by creating more and more barriers for this. Well, one is not questioning the the need for food safety in this country, but the question is about how do we judge food safety, and what's the best way of bringing it about. And to us, trust seems to be the most important thing that has to be brought in the whole discussion around food safety. And that trust is not built over time. One can always say that how will the trust be built? These certifications, these tests are all part of building trust. But one has also seen in the past that any amount of these kind of legal requirements can be circumvented in various ways. During the COVID situation, I mean, it's a classic case. One required tests to be your corona test to be done before traveling, and there were DTP centers in our place. Since we didn't have enough testing laboratories in our place, there were DTP centers who were printing it out and giving it to people for travel. So if you increase barriers, this is how the population will respond, is what one sees. So it'll not actually build any kind of actual food safety in the market, but only promote these kind of malpractices. So I think for FBOs, the challenge is now how do we go out and tell the consumers why we are not complying by this? Because the moment we go out and say that we can't do these kind of food safety tests, question will be raised on our credibility and trust. I mean, our credibility. So the government has brought us to a situation where our credibility is now under question, because we are challenging this order on doing food safety tests. I think this needs to be thought through. Otherwise, what Anantu said would become the reality, where all kinds of small, medium enterprises who are into food business will get edged out, will have to close down, and only those who have the wherewithal to have labs and do fancy tests will survive, and with no surety and guarantee that that's going to bring in food safety to this country. So that's that from my side.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Rajesh, for bringing up some really important points and showing us the real world experience of groups and how they experience such kinds of requirements. So before I call Dr. Santosh Kare, I would like to invite Kavita Kuruganti of ASHA, and she would like to make a point. Over to you, Kavita.
Thanks. Dr. Santosh Kale, I'd like to thank you on behalf of ASHA for joining us today. Just a couple of quick points. One is that for organic FBOs, there's already an insistence that they need to go through certification, and the certification regimes also take care of some amount of lab-based testing. So it seems like a duplication without a scientific rationale to what is being proposed here. Secondly, the Indian Act empowers consumers to pick up any product that they are suspicious about in terms of it not meeting any kind of standard that's been set out there. And if the lab testing proves the consumer right, there's even a possibility of getting reimbursed for that cost. But the food safety system does not publicize this particular little power that consumers of this country have, and doesn't encourage them to take up random testing. The best kind of random sample, if you ask me, is essentially with consumers utilizing that particular provision in the Food Safety Act. It would be useful to hear your views on that also, Dr. Santosh Kale. Ashlesha, I think we should hear Dr. Santosh.
Thank you. Dr. Santosh Kare, please, I'd like to welcome you. And please also for our audience, please introduce your role and your background, and then we'd love to hear your reactions.
Good afternoon, all. Myself, Dr. Santosh Kare. I'm a designated officer for Bangalore Urban District, and I'm looking after 4 talukas of Bangalore. Is actually supposed to join the DC squad, and BF of Commissioner, I'm joining this meeting. And our discussion is very positively, very much concerned about the food safety. And I want to discuss about many issues, but we should not our side from FSSAI because this is a policy matters and the government orders. By every 6 monthly, the FBO should submit the lab test reports and upload on the portal of FSSAI FoSCoS. Now the recent order has been issued, but the thing is for organic products, there is an NPOP, there is a separate department is there. They are looking for the organic products. And this about cost and all these things, our senior officers have joined here from Chennai. They will speak more about it. And just we follow the policy matters of central government and say. Thank you.
Maybe Santoshji can point us to who are the senior officers in the meeting, and we can request their inputs. Dr. Kale, who are the...
Yes. No, Kannan sir is there, better I am the junior most. Kannan sir is contributing.
No, Kannan Sethuraman is from an FBO. Are you seeing any other Kannan in the call?
Just I will see, ma'am. From our side, I am there.
So, Dr. Santosh, maybe you can share what exactly the order is saying. Does it apply to all FBOs who are manufacturers, repackers, and relabellers?
Yes,
Or
yes,
is it meant only for central licensees? Who is this order meant for?
Only for manufacturers, man. Food manufacturers means.
Including
it's not for the retail.
Right.
No, not for retailers. It's only for manufacturers.
So if somebody is a small manufacturer, less than 12 lakhs, they are manufacturers. Does it apply to them?
Yeah. But if they have many more products, yes, definitely the cost effect will be more. But it is mandatory for manufacturers to upload the lab report every 6 months. That is difficult to observe from our side. So because like in Bangalore, it's very difficult for small districts you can monitor. But it is a mandatory, ma'am. In future, we'll just discuss.
So I have a second question to you. Have you in Bangalore, have you received complaints from any FBOs saying that this is too onerous and difficult for them to comply with? And
yes.
you forwarded any such complaints to FSSAI?
No. Orally, actually, they have discussed with me that they have many products. Each product is costing around 12 to 13,000 rupees. If the manufacturer is having around 20 to 25 products, means it is difficult for them. Yeah, they have discussed with me, and I will convey this message to our Commissioner ma'am and as well as.
Ashlesha, did you want to check whether there is any other FSSAI official by any chance?
So I'd like to ask the audience, anybody from FSSAI here? If so, please let us know in chat, and we would like to invite you to make a comment as well. And in the meanwhile, we also have some other FBOs present in the audience, such as Ramesh Chandra and Mr. Gopi and Ashish Gupta and some others. So, I'd like to also invite all of you for a quick comment, if you have any. Yeah, go ahead.
Shall I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah. This is Gopi. I'm part of, we provide our support to an FPO that's called Navadarshanam, involved in value-added food products ranging from flours and grains and pulses to pickles and some baked items. And the initiative is primarily to support the livelihood of a local village community, about 50-odd farming families. And this regulation basically would cost this operation of the order of 20 lakhs per year. And that's probably more than the profit that the operation makes. So in some sense, it is extremely disruptive and to the point of perhaps having to shut it down and not be able to provide livelihood anymore for these folks. And it's been around for about 20 to 25 years. So that's a staggering cost, and it is hard to fathom how, and I don't want to second guess why and how this regulation has been put forward, but it is something that has to be considered because I'm sure there are so many other such organizations across India that face the same sort of issue. If you have a certain number of products, and if you have a continuous production cycle, and you make 2 tests out of the 365 batches that you make in a year, how does that help the consumer feel more secure? And it's unclear how that adds to the value. So perhaps there has to be some deeper delving into this thing that has to happen before this order really is enforced, because it's truly not going to help, and it's in some ways so deeply detrimental in not being able to support. There's 2 things: there's the livelihood of the folks that are involved, and then there is the choice that the consumers have. And we've built trusted relationships in the Bangalore area, or there's about 5,000 to 10,000 people that subscribe to these products. It's very, very trusted relationships, and all of a sudden, if we are not able to provide that, that doesn't seem like the right thing for the villagers, for the consumers, for the country. So I would urge the FSSAI to think this through one more time, and that perhaps there has to be a different way that this is done. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Friends, if you have any new points, please bring them, because some of the points have been made quite strongly and repeated. So I'd like to welcome Ramesh now.
Yeah, thanks, Shresha. This is Ramesh Chandran. We're based out of Coimbatore. We run a micro enterprise called BioBasics, and we have been working for the past 8 years, providing organic food to consumers all across India, both online and offline. And that is the background of our organization. And we try to make it easier for the organic consumer to gather all the organic foods at one-stop shop. So as a result, we carry around 300 plus products, ranging from fruits and vegetables to all kinds of grocery items as well. So given that, I would echo whatever Anantu, Rajesh, and Kavita and Gopi have already said, is basically that the cost is going to be extremely prohibitive. For us also, it would work out to be close to 18 to 20 lakhs a year. And that's a huge part of what we spend. And like many organizations in this group, we are not profitable. So we are running this based on passion, trying to promote organic agriculture and trying to support organic farmers. So there is a lot of social good that we are creating in the society by existing. but by putting such an onerous regulation requirement on us, as Gopi said, I don't think there is any other choice but to shut down. So that is what we are looking at, and that's the hard truth of it. Now, so my question to the FSSAI officials here, Dr. Kale and others, if any, is number one, how is this expected to be funded? So that is a question that which I think all of us have to ask, is basically how is this it may not be scientifically acceptable or other points that have been raised by others, but the fundamental point from a business perspective, from a micro enterprise perspective, is how are we expected to fund this? Is the government going to fund this, the testing, or are we supposed to pass on the cost to consumers? So this is something that needs clarification, number one. The other thing which I think I need to bring out, which has struck us, is we also need to see whether this regulation has any kind of a replica anywhere else in the world. We need to see every regulation has a source of inspiration from some other country. There must have been some kind of experience that people have gone through in other countries. Food safety is not only for consumers of India. Food safety is something for the world, for all global consumers across the world. So how are countries like the US or the UK or Europe or any other country looking at food safety? And is this, and having lived and worked in some of those countries and having been in those countries as a consumer, I have not come across these kinds of regulations. So this is something that I would like to understand from a global perspective. Is this does it have any global equivalent at all? And if that is not so, then what is so special about the Indian consumer that we need to take such a drastic regulatory step? These are my two questions and submissions. Thank you for the time.
Thanks for bringing up some very important points. And I'd like to bring in, there's two more people who raised their hands. One is Kalyan Paul. So please come in, and after that, Ravinder Singh. Please write down your questions in chat as well if you have any.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kalyan speaking. I've been working in the mountains for the last 40 years. And I just want to take a minute to stress something which Ramesh and others mentioned already. Look, I mean, there are no testing labs around in the Indian Himalayan region. And we've been actually, as a mandatory practice to ensure our own quality control, sending every sample once a year during the processing season to a lab which is in Delhi, which is, quite cumbersome and as well as expensive. And now over the years, this small FPO with, about 3,000 women shareholders, they have more than 50, 60 items, like what Ramesh was mentioning, our organization with 300 items. Now this group has about 60 items, food items. And if you do this testing twice a year, it's going to add to the cost and the other trouble immensely, besides other logistical issues. Now, my point is, as Ramesh said, this is not done anywhere else in the world, according to my knowledge also. And I feel that because the government of India is promoting thousands of FPOs, that there are vested interests in the country, in the food sector, who realize that sooner rather than later, there'll be a huge, significant amount of safe foods available in the Indian market through all these FPOs. And this is just one way of making the platform difficult for FPOs to be viable and to stand on their own feet. And therefore, I strongly urge all of us in the civil society engaged in such work is to actually bring it to the notice of the government of India that their attempt in creating so many FPOs itself is going to be harmed with such laws and policies which the FSSAI is trying to bring forward. And of course, the government of India can subsidize the whole thing by paying, reimbursing the cost of the lab tests, but that's not the whole point. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. And Ravinder Singh. रविंदर सिंह जी, आपका कोई पॉइंट है? Okay, so I think he's unresponsive. Do we have anybody from dairy here in the audience? I see somebody from Sumul Dairy.
Just 1 second, Ashlesha. I think the call settings are that people cannot unmute themselves. So just
Oh, really?
give a little
Okay.
more time when you request someone to speak. And we are requesting them to unmute themselves.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Ravinder.
Ravinder Singh. I'm a startup based in Prayagraj, Uttar Pradesh. And when I came to know about this, we basically work in millets since 2017. And we have introduced some 25 to 30 products into the market regarding this. And when this particular testing was introduced, it actually hurt us a lot because the cost of individual testing is basically depends on the whims and fancies of the labs, which are very few in the country. And suppose we are based in Prayagraj, Uttar Pradesh, so we have to go to either to Lucknow or to Delhi, right, to get our products tested. And that too, like the cost of each product testing something around 10,000 rupees nowadays. And suppose we have 30 products, so we have to shell out 3 lakh rupees in 6 months. We are a very small startup. We have a like turnover of something around 25 lakh, which is very difficult really to survive ourselves. And putting these kind of laws without even consulting the people is very difficult basically to understand that it is actually hurting and killing the small enterprises, which is the base of this country. So if the MSMEs will no longer be surviving, there will be no point in actually taking the FSSAI to next level, right? And to be very sure that we are very much there to ensure the nutritional and food safety, because we are startup. We have put in everything of our stake into the enterprise, and each and every money, time, everything we have invested in this enterprise. So it is our responsibility to give best and best products to the consumer, right? And that's what we have been doing since many years. So now, if you put in the gallows on our which are already there earlier also. Suppose if our products go wrong and consumer complains it, so who has to pay the price? It is always the enterprise who is actually manufacturing that product, right? So we are already there. That pressure was already there. So there was no point in actually taking this very harsh step, which is actually killing the baby itself, right? So I am basically I'm just pointing out the harshness of this act, and there is no we have to find out if the government intention of FSSAI is very clear to ensure the food safety, then it can actually be done through various ways. You can test it randomly. You know that it's very big enterprise. You cannot test it randomly. Then there has to be other means by which an enterprise has to be responsible. And they are actually in the present law itself. So we feel that this is very harsh step, and it is going to kill the baby itself, and it will have a very far implication for the country. Thank you.
Thanks, Ravinderji. Anyone from a dairy in the audience by any chance that would like to speak? I see someone from Sumul Dairy. Ashish, are you there? Ashish Gupta? I don't see him in the...
Okay. Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Janvi from Sumul Dairy. Hello, am I
Yes.
audible?
Yeah, Janvi, we
Yes,
can hear you.
yes, I have one question, especially for FSSAI. Like, given the order that they have mentioned that first of all, products. So my question is that is it mandatory to go for product given the condition that historical data and risk assessment? So is it up to us that we have to decide that if at all the historical data, we don't have any historical data, then is it so that we can just give up that product?
So if I may come in, Ashlesha. So in a response to a letter that we all sent together, FSSAI wrote back saying that they will reduce the number of parameters required, as well as categorize the products into different typologies. And based on historical data, they will reissue the orders. This is what they have written to us when Asha and many of you sent a joint letter. But thereafter, even though this is received from the Regulatory Compliance Division of FSSAI, FBOs are continuing to receive automated emails which insist that they test and upload. And that is why we are holding this meeting. So, Janaviji, to answer your question, it is not clear at this point of time whether FSSAI is going to ask people based on their historical data, in which case I think about 95 to maybe higher than that FBOs in India can claim that across product categories, their food has been safe. They don't have to do any testing. So that is why we are questioning the scientific rationale behind this particular order. So we'll have to wait and see.
So till then, we have to go for all products.
It does look like it. It does look like it because no other order saying that the earlier order has been kept in abeyance has been issued by FSSAI so far. Even after acknowledging that, lots of FBOs are expressing their concerns and that FSSAI is cognizant of the concerns and issues in their order, they've not issued anything to keep the earlier order in abeyance.
Okay, ma'am. One last thing. Okay, as far as historical data is concerned, it is fine that yet it is not clear from the authorities itself. But what about risk assessment? Because that is the individuality of all the unions, or you can say food industries or products. If the risk assessment output says that so and so parameters are not that much rationally on the we can say hazard basis. So in that case, what would you comment, madam?
I'm not from FSSAI. I hope you've understood that. And
yes.
This is a point that we have raised.
Yes.
This is a point that we've raised, that risk assessment is actually a scientific approach, risk assessment and risk management. And therefore, any blanket sort of an order of this kind shows that the regulatory regime itself is working in an unscientific fashion. So, let's give ourselves another 5-10 minutes to listen to other people and discuss what should be the collective action now. Because just like Rajesh Krishnan pointed out about FPOs, cooperatives and dairy cooperatives are on par with the same kind of philosophy of empowering primary producers. And we understand what dairy cooperatives will have to go through in such a regulatory order. So let's discuss in just 5-10 minutes, what will we collectively have to do now? Just give us 10 minutes, Janviji.
Okay, thank you.
Ashlesha, over to you. Sorry about
Thanks, Janviji. We are also completely in agreement with you about these difficulties. So just trying to invite others at this point. Anybody else? We would like to hear your views. Is Sanjay Pandey, would you like to say something?
Yeah, okay. I was just please. So I was just thinking about it, and I thought, what I find that it is not serving much objective purpose when we are sending these routine samples all the time. Besides the cost and when managing these samples from the food safety perspective or getting results, that is not very difficult task. So when I am talking about objective purpose, it is serving more to do documentation, pay certain fee all the time. But how does it help the business operators or the consumers on both the sides? So uh, I agree with the kind of talk which has been generated in this forum, that it should be more scientific, it should be objective, it should be able to do certain improvements to the food safety program, and there the enforcements of the laws and all such things in the favor of consumer should be done in a different manner. But this is more of documentation at certain cost, and this cost is many times becoming very prohibitive.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. We also have Hasmukh
Or on
Pandya
mute, I
ji.
think.
Oh, can people hear me? I don't think I'm
Yes,
on
yes,
mute.
we can hear. We
Okay.
can hear.
So Hasmukh Pandya ji, आप हैं audience में. I think you are probably from a dairy cooperative. Anything from you?
Yes, ma'am, we are here.
Thank you. Please tell us from your side how you are feeling about these testing rules. And also, आप कौन से डेयरी से है उसका नाम भी हमें बता दीजिए, आपके कोऑपरेटिव का नाम.
We are from Sri Bhavnagar District Cooperative Milk Producer Union, Savattam Dairy. Actually, we are manufacturing the milk and milk products. Recently, first we used to do the testing for every year, but as per new regulations which has been adopted by the FSSAI for every 6 months, I think so this is just one type of expensive only. If we do one time or two times, the same result we are getting, and I think so it is not useful for the consumers to do for 2 time testing per year. I think so testing for every year is only okay.
Can you speak into the mic a little bit louder? Your voice is unclear.
Just a minute, ma'am. I am audible, ma'am, now?
Yeah, maybe a bit louder will be better if you can. Thanks. Now go ahead.
Just a minute, ma'am. Now it is audible clearly for you?
It's the same only actually, but doesn't matter. You can continue your point. So you.
Just to 5 minutes, I will talk to you.
Yeah, there's some echoes. So while you are fixing, I want to also later invite Rajiv Kohli ji. So please get ready, Rajiv ji. Next, I will invite you. Is Rajiv Kohli ji there? I think he is not there anymore. So okay, Rajiv Kohli ji is there, but I think he is not able to speak. Okay. So anybody else?
Just 1 second. I'm asking him to unmute. Just hold on. Give me 1 second.
He's saying that he's in a noisy place.
Sorry.
He cannot speak.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So before next, of course, our next step is going to be, people are already asking for it. What should we do next? What should be our collective action that we should take after having heard all the key points. So, and people also asking how they can sign up to this action. So please, folks, we are all ears. Any suggestions from you? Of course, we should definitely contact FSSAI. Any other suggestions? Anantu, would you like to come in?
Yeah, I mean, writing to FSSAI is the immediate thing. Probably a lot of us individually also, consumers and others, whoever are concerned, basically because I think there is a lot more concern for the consumers also. So a lot of them also should write directly to the respective ministry and mainly to the FSSAI chief.
Any other suggestions?
Ashleisha, I would like to suggest that everyone draws in their state level food safety commissioners also into the conversation, because then the commissioners, for instance, Dr. Santosh Kale is here, and our commissioner in Karnataka was so responsive as soon as we requested her to join the call, and she nominated Dr. Kale. So I think everyone writing to their food safety commissioners as a large number of FBOs, so that they in turn can raise it with FSSAI in Delhi would help, other than what Anantu had said. Maybe Dr. Kale
point.
himself has something to.
Dr. Kale?
Yes, ma'am, and thank you all FBOs and manufacturers on this forum. Actually, I have noted all the concerns of FBOs and manufacturers about the testing, and just I will inform to the commissioner, ma'am, and as well to our central FSSAI Inoshe, madam. Just actually, FSSAI is for all the manufacturers and all MSMEs, and we are there for you. If any difficulties with you people, and that is our concern. Definitely, all the problems will be informed to our higher officers and let you know very soon. Because next CAC meeting will be held in 2 months. But before that, I will inform everything because last time in Delhi, I have attended the CAC meeting. There they are discussing about this organic testing and establishing the organic labs, testing labs. Actually, in Karnataka, very few 4 government labs are there, but private labs are there also. But these all things and your concerns will be informed, and definitely the problem will be solved soon. Thank you very much for organizing this forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Santosh Kale. Folks, would it help for us to share a draft of letter as well that you all can send to your state commissioners? If that's something that will help, we will also share that with you. And I have a question for Ajay, whether everybody's email addresses are with us, all the folks who have attended. It would be important for us to stay connected about next steps that we are taking, and for you all to sign on to letters and share any drafts, etc. So it's important we have your email ID. Can everybody share their email ID in the chat right now? So that's how we will stay in touch with you. Thank you for starting, Dhruv. So everybody, please add your chat and email ID. We'll take note of it. So we have come up with a few actions, which is all those of you who already registered and gave your email ID, don't bother. It's only other people. So some of the actions which are coming up: writing to FSSAI by FBOs, and not only FBOs, but also consumers have to be writing to FSSAI. Each one of us from our own states, we need to involve our state food safety commissioners. Either we write a letter to them or we get in a conversation with them. If a letter is required, we will be happy to supply a draft of the letter that you can then edit. Dr. Santosh Kale here has said that he will also share concerns from today with Inoshe ji of FSSAI and others. And somebody has said that we should write to MSME ministry as well. So these are some of the important next steps that have come, and we will be in touch with all of you through your emails and plan next steps accordingly. Please keep a lookout for our email. So I think with that, we are coming to the end of our discussion today. If there's any last points that anybody would like to make, I'd give you the floor right now. And if not,
we've allowed all participants to unmute themselves if anybody wants to talk now. That's possible.
Hi, can I speak? 2 minutes?
yes, go ahead.
So my name is Sehejo and I'm here purely as a consumer and very concerned. And I'm wondering if we can immediately also start, even if it's a small start a consumer campaign, not just addressing the FSSAI, but also people who are people like us who want to consume better and from more socially equitous groups. That's it. Thank you.
What exactly would that involve, Seju? Are you talking about an online petition from consumers?
Yeah, Kavita, we should start something. We should not just assume that we can only talk to the government. Because right now, I don't know how much speaking to the government helps. We should do that. But we definitely need to reach out to all the email kind of groups that we have. If all of us were sending out this message to all the groups that we are part of, we already have a very sizable data set here right now in this room.
Sure. So the recording of this conversation, as well as the earlier letters that were sent, were also pretty coherent, if you like, in terms of communicating the concerns. So we will share all of that.
And probably a simple one-pager would be much better, Kavita, because that gets more access. And perhaps, as you know, if you can do a few languages, couple of languages, that will be even better. Just one simple pager that this is happening and how and what people can do. That is very important. We need to think of and ask or what they can do.
Right. Yes. Thank
you.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Rahul Saxena would like to say something. Anybody else?
Ashlesha?
Yes, who is speaking? Please go ahead. Is that Rahul?
Am I audible? This is Rahul.
Yes, you are audible. Go ahead, Rahul.
I think the internet. I'm Rahul. Yeah, I'm from Himachal Pradesh and run a
Sorry, Rahul, we cannot hear you because your voice got cut off.
My suggestion is that towards collective non-compliance.
I think we can't hear Rahul, but I think I have a hint as to what he was trying to say. He was saying, talking about...
that is it. Thank you.
Sorry. I think, Rahul, we didn't get to hear you properly. I think you were saying that we should do a collective non-compliance of these unjust expectations and rules. So...
Yeah, the internet. Write it down on the chat. I'll try to write it down.
Great, folks. If there's anybody else, Rahul will be posting his comment in chat. Anybody else, please, you're welcome to speak now.
Good evening, madam. It is audible?
Yes. Please go ahead. Allegation,
yes,
sir,
yes.
please go ahead.
I am allegation. I am representing for the Sirumalai Vegetable Farmers Producer Company. We have been working for this more than 5 years. Now we are going to develop for this too many products in our farmers.